Hey everyone, this is Ramanuj and welcome to the episode 8 of our Spring Boot and Microservices tutorial series. Well, in our last video, we had explored the Spring Data JPA and what exactly happens behind the scene. We understand it properly. In this episode, we will explore how exactly you can write custom queries in Spring Data JPA. First of all, let's try to understand what is the name. If you look at all the data that we have in our table, let's quickly get all those. Select from products. Well, you can see there are a lot of data, right? So I saved few more data here. So you can see there are few more data. There are a lot of data. So currently, if you look at our code, so if at all I go to Postman and I'll be able to get all the data from here as well. And also I'll be able to search for a particular data by providing the ID of it, right? So we can provide the ID, and by providing the ID, I would be able to get particular product. Now, the thing is, I want to customize it. I want to find the product by the product name. I want to find the product based on a price range and many more. I want to customize it. How can I do this in Spring Data JPA? So if we go to our query editor in MySQL, if we clear everything, here we can easily write a query like select star from products where product underscore name equals, you can put something. I guess iPhone 16 is there, and if I hit enter, okay, maybe it's iPhone 16. Let me quickly check. We do have MacBook Pro, right? So we do have something called MacBook Pro. I would just copy that and let's see. Do you have MacBook Pro? We have, right? So we are getting the details of that particular item. That's cool. And we want to achieve the same. How can I do this? So let's try to understand this. So first of all, we would be opening. You can see one thing. If you go to the repository layer, which is absolutely, you can see that's an interface, and we actually cannot write or cannot implement a function here. So what we are going to do, it's quite simple, very simple. You just need to write product. This is what you are returning. Product, find by name and string name. And you know what? That's all, right? So you don't need to write anything extra. You just say that, okay, I want a product, find. And find by name, this is actually a very magical name, right? So the name that I'm using, find by name, it has a lot of meaning inside it. So how to write this? So you have to write find by, you can think of it as a clause, which is equivalent of where clause, and name is the name of the property in your entity, right? So what is the name here? I mean, what is the property name here? It is name. So this is what you need to write, and let's see, will it work or not? So first of all, what we will do, right? So we have to create a service method for that as well. So I would write here, I'm going to get a product get by product name, fine. And similarly, I would go to the implementation and I will have to implement this as well. So here I would write product, get product by name, string name. Makes sense. Let me make it a little bigger so that you can see it, right? So get product by name, and you can see string name, and that's all. And lastly, what I need to do, I have to go to my API layer, that's the controller, and there also I have to create a function. So simple, get mapping name, right? So let me make it a little bigger so that you can see it. Get mapping name. And here I would write a function, public product, get product by name, path variable, name and string name. That makes sense. And return product service dot get product by name. It's the same function that I'm calling. Quickly do this, and what I'm going to do, I would just relaunch this application. So remember, what I need to pass is /name/ the dynamic value. Okay, so this is what you need to remember, /name and the dynamic value. So the application is ready, and let's quickly go and check it out, right? So here, what I'm going to do, let me make it a little bigger so that you can see it. /products /name let's pass the name, right? So I want to pass, let's pass something else, right? So MacBook Pro is already here. Apart from that, what else data we have, right? So let's quickly have a look. Okay, So we have MacBook Pro, we have iPhone 15 Pro, we have Sony WH, Dell XPS. So let's search for this Dell XPS 13. So I'm going to pass here Dell XPS 13. You can see it. What I'm doing, /product/name Dell XPS 13. What will happen? Let's quickly send. And look at this. Am I getting the product? Yes, I'm getting the product details. You can see that I'm getting the product details, and the product details is Dell XPS 13 is the name, and you have the description, price, quantity, and so on, right? So this is how you would be able to write custom queries in Spring Data JPA. Well, you might be thinking one thing here. If you look at, right, so that's one thing is very interesting here. If you look at my repository, so the name that we have given, you can see product find by name, right? So we have used this. So the name that we have given here is the property name of the Java field, or inside entity class, whatever property name that we are having, we have passed that. So if you look at my entity, you would be able to see that here it is name. But if you look at the database, let's have a look at the database. So in the database, the name is product name. So remember one thing, Spring Data JPA uses something called JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. And here it uses the name that you have given for your Java properties or Java entity properties, not what is there in the database. Basically what happens, you need to understand, whatever you are writing, Spring Data JPA is creating a equivalent query for you, and that query, when it is getting executed in the database, it would actually write, rather than name, it will actually write something like that, select star from whatever the table name is, products in our case, and where product underscore name equal whatever name that you are passing. So that is one thing that you need to remember. Every time finding things by providing the entire name isn't a great idea, because I don't want to provide the entire name. Think of it. I want to find some product wherein I just wanted to send some text. If the text is a part of the name, then I should be able to get all the products. Let's try to understand what I'm trying to achieve. Let me clear this. What if we write a query like select star from products, where product name like %phone and another %. Okay, so what do you mean by this? This actually means it will get any product where the name has phone inside it. Okay, let's execute. So currently I'm just getting iPhone because it has phone inside it. Okay, so let's try to do with description, and I would type this Apple because I do have more products from Apple in my list. So let's try to execute the same command, but this time I would change where description, like I would write Apple. Okay, now you see I got 3 products: MacBook Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, and Apple iPad Air, right? So I'm getting 3 products. So I want to achieve something like this with Spring Data JPA. Can I do this? Of course I can, right? So how do you do this? So here, what I would do, rather than having a product, right? So okay, so let's create one more function, list of product, and I would give a name find by. Okay, that's gonna be a very interesting name, find by name containing, right? And this one, I also want that it should be case insensitive. So you can write ignore case, and you can pass the name. That's all. And I have to import the list. Let's import list. Okay, that's cool, right? So this is the function that we need to create. Let's have a look on this once again. Find by name containing ignore case. Okay, so let's save this, and let's do one thing. We would go to our service to create a function like this. I would create a list of product and find by name containing ignore case. Let's keep the same name, and also I'll go to my implementation and let's implement the function as well quickly. Let's implement it here. list of product, and yeah, it got implemented. And next what I would do, I would go to the controller and we will create an endpoint for that, right? So what I need to do, I would do a get mapping search, and I can actually do a I can actually write something like this, wherein there is another thing that we are passing called request param. So we can actually pass it as a request param, because earlier we are passing exit value and we are passing it with path variable, and this makes a lot sense when we are passing through a request param. So all done, we would save this and let's relaunch the application. Okay, so the application relaunched and let's test it. So what I'm going to do, I want to achieve something like this here. So I would do, let's write, what I'm going to write, /products /search question. Okay, so that's how we pass name equal. And how do I write the name? Let's suppose I want apple. Okay, so you see, how did I write? Localhost, you can see /search question name equal apple. Let's execute this and let's see what happens. Are we getting it? Yes, you see Apple iPad Air, right? So you might be thinking, why I'm not getting all the other things? Because I am checking with the I'm checking with the name, not the description, right? So I didn't do it for the description. So if I have something else, right? So I would pass phone, and I would get, you see, iPhone 15 Pro. I want something like, let's try to understand wherein I do have the word, let's try P in it. Let's write P and look at this. I got a lot of product, right? So almost, 4 products I got, because in MacBook Pro, you see P is there. In iPhone 15, P is there. In XPS, P is there. In iPad Air, P is there, right? So that is how, if I just write Pro, I want to get all the things which are labeled as Pro, and wherein I can see MacBook Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, right? So you can see, right? So how exactly we can pass this and we can write a query for this. That's really nice, and we can actually write. But yeah, sometimes remembering these complex things could be very difficult, because for each and everything, you cannot generate a proper query just by giving a function name. This is good for many of the use cases, but not for all the use cases. It cannot cover all the use cases. So if you have something very much custom, and you don't know how to name the method for that particular query, there is another way as well. For example, I'm going to show you, right? So let's suppose I want to find all the product based on their price range. Okay, so I would write list of product find by price range. Okay, so find by price range, and I would write something called a double lower, double upper. Makes sense? And I'm not sure that whether it will actually generate a query or not. So at that point, what I would do, I would write a very simple thing, add query, and you can actually write the query inside it. So how do you write? You can write, from product where price greater than equal, I would give a parameter, right? So lower, and price less than equal upper. This is how I will write. And what will happen here? What is the meaning of this colon here? Colon means this is a dynamic parameter. Here colon means it's a dynamic parameter. And what will happen? You can see the names here, lower and upper. Automatically those will get mapped to these values, lower and upper. This is name parameter. With colon we can mention name parameter, so we don't need to write question marks, rather we can easily mention using name parameter, and that's a great idea. Now let's try to create the service method as well as the endpoint for this. So quickly go to this and let's try to do this. List of products find by price range, lower and upper. That's cool. And let's do an implementation. Let's quickly do an implementation. So what I'm going to do, public list product, same function, and we are going to call this function. That's cool. Let's do one thing. Let's go to the controller and let's create a get mapping. we can write slash price slash min slash lower and max slash upper, something like that. Okay, so we are passing two path variables here. Let's create the method here so we can see. Let me see, right? So we can see here public list of product, find by price range, path variable. We are reading the lower and the upper and we are passing them here. Let's save this and let's relaunch the application. Do remember one thing, every time you make changes, do relaunch that application. Otherwise you won't be able to see the changes. That's very important. Let's quickly go and let's check if that's working or not, right? So we would see product and what we have, price. Let's have a look on this, right? So we have price slash min and I would write, I want the minimum to be 2 lakhs and max to be 3 lakhs. Let's send this and let's see, am I getting anything, right? So we are getting only one product, which is MacBook Pro, which is having this price tag. Apart from this, if you want to check for something else, like wherein I'm checking the minimum price is 1 lakh and the maximum price is 2 lakhs. Let's try this and we got a lot of product, right? So we got iPhone 15 Pro, we got Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, we got Dell XPS 13. So this is how we can create different queries. So let's have a quick look once again. So if we go to our repository, we can see how did we generate the query. So this is how we have generated the query. So this is what is known as JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. So here, a very important thing, it looks like SQL only, but it is very simplified. I didn't need to write select. I didn't need to write what and all I'm selecting and all such things. So this is very easy and straightforward. We can just quickly create it, we can write it, and this is how it will work. You can write it for this also. If at all I want to generate for this, how exactly it will look like. So it would be add query, and then we can write from product where name equal name. This is as simple as that. So whenever you find a particular query, you want to search for something or you want to query something wherein you are not sure the exact name of the method, then it's very simple. You can write query annotation and you can actually type the query. You don't need to ask Spring Data to generate the query for you. You can write your own query as well. There are other types of query as well. One type of query which is known as native query. So native queries are scenarios where you cannot write a proper JPQL. Okay, so you cannot write a proper JPQL and you want to write the exact SQL query. I want to show you, right? So if at all I want to do this, so at that point I will write like this: select star from product where price between lower and upper. And one very important thing, I have to write it in two parts. I would write value equal this, and a very important flag that I need to pass with this is I would write a comma, native query equal true. So that's very important because by default, it will think that it's a regular JPQL. You have to say that it is a native query. What happens when you use a native query? You can see here we have three scenarios. One, where I'm asking Spring Data JPA to create the query for me. In that case, what happens? I have to write a proper function name or proper method name. Second scenario is, okay, I'm asking Spring Data JPA, I'm providing a query with that, and that is actually JPQL. So JPQL is, you remember, this is based on, Java class name as well as the Java variable names. Okay, so it doesn't directly related to the table. Third scenario is I'm not able to generate a JPQL. I want to, call some, maybe I want to call some function which is very much specific to a database. For example, a date function, which is there in MySQL and which is not present in another database. So I have to write, at those scenarios, I have to write a query which is directly applicable on a particular database. And that's where we would be using a native query. The best part is for the native query, there is no need of additional conversion, because at the end you need to understand database don't understand what is JPQL. So it has to be converted to a proper database query And in this case, what I'm doing, I'm writing a proper database query myself, and I'm not asking JPA or Spring Data JPA to help me out, right? So this is what a native query is. So everything has its own use cases. Depending on your scenarios, your use cases, you can use them. So let me test this as well, if that's working, if this, after this changes, everything is working fine or not. Let me quickly relaunch, and let's quickly go. And I would go here and let me send it. There are some issues. Let's try to understand what is the issue, right? So it says that table product DB product does not exist. So you understand what is the problem, because the table name was products. So we have to write products. So you understand. Good that we got this error, and which we understood that we have to write exactly the database. So if I'm writing name here, if that's a native query, then I have to actually write product underscore name. So it is totally dependent on the table name or the database structure names, database table column name, and so on. Let's quickly save it, relaunch it, and let's go and test it. Now let's test it. Are we getting it? Yes. So that's how we can use Java Persistence Query Language, or JPQL, and native queries in Spring Data JPA. I hope you understood it. Now it's your time to experiment with it, play around with it, and have fun. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.